feel your fire, baby, let me dance in your love. I wanna feel your fire, rising from the flames, baptized only to burn again. Let me dance in the rhythm of your flame. If I burn, let me die to burn again. If I burn, let me die to burn again. Oh,
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get Lit. I am Rebecca Hahn, and that is Blue Star Dear Woman living in a Blue Star beehive. Welcome to the show. Last week, our theme was around chasing our tail. That covered lots of things about just how we are just running in circles and not really knowing where we're coming from and where we're going. And this week, our conversation pre-show led to the idea that the theme is about grasping at straws. So we're kind of like sitting here going, what have you got? I don't, not much. What have you got? Not much. I'm just kind of smiling and happy, and it's a strange place to be. So we're going to take today and explore a bit around the theme around grasping at straws and reaching for that which is known to us, yet it really just sort of is not substantial anymore. And we've seen this theme in other broadcasts. We've seen this theme in our other friends and cohorts. So we're going to explore what that means in terms of spirituality and science and our own daily living and go from there. So, Lou, you got any comments?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I've been in a lot of transition. And so I was attributing some of this grasping for straws to my transition. But in truth, the more I started to just ground a little bit, it's like, no, my whole interior exterior is like, what is going on? What's up? What's up? So
know that you're because every show we do, you have a different background.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, well, this is going to be a consistent background, and I want to announce this because this is really awesome. I am now, this is the Get Lit studio, and I am at the Artist Colony located in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And it's a whole colony of different studios, different artists and healers. And it's amazingly alive and wonderful conversation. And so we have we have glass blowers, glass creators, painters. We have a gentleman here that makes gnomes, sculpts gnomes. We have a chainsaw artist. That's typical of our rural Eureka Spring environment. And we have a Reiki instructor. It goes on, and it just seemed to be the timing. It's just an adorable set of studios, just beautifully created and put together, and we're right on the mainstream where all the tourists go by. So I'm in this cool new environment, and my studio came with this background. And I absolutely love it. And if Allison Yana, my lovely honeybee keeper in Big Island, Hawaii, if you're watching, I'm dedicating this to you because this is definitely the honeycomb. I'm in the honeycomb. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to share with everyone, we have something new and different happening, and it's kind of experimental, but it seems to be alive and working. For those of you who are listening and have used the Chatwing chat room, we now have the chat room set up for Get Lit. And the way you access it is you go to dearwoman.com, DEERWOMON, dearwoman.com, click on Watch Live, and you'll see our show is airing there. Right below the show is a Chatwing box. And you are invited to come. You sign up free if you don't have a username yet. Or you can actually sign up through your Facebook page. And you can ask questions there. But you also have the option to always call into our show as well. And we always welcome callers to enter our discussion, ask questions, or initiate some other perspective that you'd like to speak to. So that's my my intro. Do you want me to talk about the timelines now, Becca? You want to speak?
No, I think that's good. Go ahead.
Okay. Now that I'm finally have access to consistent internet, thanks to the Art Colony, I finally got to get back on board with some of the other programs that I love on CCN. And one of them is the Roundtable that happens on Monday nights at 5 o'clock Central with Lisa M. Harrison and Danny Arnold McKinney. And a conversation that happened there was about timelines. And, you know, talk about grasping for straws. As I was listening, it was like, I felt like the energies were just all over the place. And I was trying to grasp too, what's up with this timelines? And one of the things that came up was, we were talking about that there's definitely been a jump. Like many of us have identified that the kinds of things that have shifted in our day-to-day lives has a sense of like we've jumped the timeline. And so I was thinking about this the other day, and what came through me, an idea I'd like to entertain, is that up till this time, I kept feeling like, you know, what we would call ascension, all right? That in order to jump a timeline, we were going to have that, you know, that real divine awakening from within. Now, of course, that's important, and it's a significant integral in everything we do. But I kept feeling, well, my gosh, if we don't understand the God, goddess within, right, how are we going to make this shift? How are we going to jump this timeline? But then what occurred to me is that what if the timeline is simply we're aware and we have the knowledge of what's really going on this planet, as in the real truths, as in listening to the whistleblowers, as in knowing what the real motivation is behind things like GMO or vaccinations. And that it occurred to me that we can make that. I think the timeline shift is more significantly related to we're waking up to what's really going on the planet. We are getting the knowledge and the information that has been withheld from us. And when I started to hold that perspective, I realized, well, my gosh, then that includes a lot more people on this planet that can wake up. So that was my insight and my theory that I'd like to offer to the community. And if anybody's wanting to respond, or yourself, Becca, take off from there.
Yeah, it just reminds me of the conversations we've had around, I'm feeling something shifting, and you know, you and I and many other people are in touch with what's happening, you know, in terms of biologically and evolutionarily, and solar flares and the shifting of the planet, and, you know, sacred geometry and the lines that are drawn are shifting, and that has some effect. But, you know, I look back at our conversations and the conversations of others, and even just how physics has been turned on its end and nothing's making any sense anymore. And it's kind of just sweetly funny to me that we for the past couple of years, we've all been like, oh, this is happening and that's happening and I can feel it. And all of a sudden I've noticed us and others going, yeah, what? That conversation is completely irrelevant at this point. It's like the shift happened.
Right.
Here we are. But to speak to that idea of how condensed we all felt, you know, I remember 4 or 5 years ago teaching at a big healing conference, teaching a Kundalini yoga thing at a big healing conference. And I was sitting in on one of the like keynote speakers, and they were talking about how they get 3 or 4 hours of sleep now. This was a few years ago. and that they don't eat as much, and that everyone should pay attention to that because the way we nurture ourselves is changing, and genetically, biologically, things are changing. And so the way we used to do things doesn't work anymore. We might feel condensed, and we might feel pressurized, and we might feel like we can't do as much as we used to do. I mean, you and I had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to get the 4 things done that I set on my agenda for the day, and I can't even seem to get those done. Time is moving so much more quickly. And then all of a sudden there was, and if you watched last week's episode, I spoke to this dream that I had that I felt shifted me on a cellular level. And after that occurred, I didn't feel that condensing of time inside of me anymore, even though nothing's really changed on the outside. And so I look back at all of these conversations we all had it's kind of sweet, even up till a couple of weeks ago. So, and even the conversation we had about like, oh, September the 15th, big stuff's happening, and this is when it's going to happen. And then we're like, the next week we're like, who gives a crap? That's, whatever. It's been happening all along. But it really was in that timeline, that short little, either end of September 15th, where something just sort of came to fruition. Something gelled. And I think that's what it is. Everything was like moving faster and faster and faster until it kind of reconfigured, and then it gelled.
Right.
And now we're in this place where we're like, okay, and we're, okay, what do you want to talk about? I don't know. What do you want to talk about? I don't know. Well, let's talk about that. Well, that doesn't feel significant anymore. Well, let's talk about that. Well, that doesn't feel significant anymore. Well, let's talk about this. Well, yeah, I'm just not feeling it, And so we're seeing this on our platform and others because and I can speak for most of CCN, like the reason we're on here is because we got shit to say, And I don't really have shit to say anymore. It's just like, okay, let's be significant. Well, what's even significant? I think we'll find it again, but it's just so vastly different and in such a good, it feels good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, grasping at straws. We're grasping at this straw and that straw and the old paradigm and this we talked about and the spirituality we used to hold significant. Right. And all of it was significant because it got us to here. Mm-hmm. And we're not quite sure what here is yet, but finally here is here and now. We've been waiting to get here. We've been talking about this here for a few years, and now we're here, and it's like,
what the fuck is that?
And it feels great, but I don't even know what that is. I said to someone the other day, I said, I'm happy. I feel happy in a different way than I've ever felt. Mm-hmm. And it's not euphoric. It's not manic-y. It's just I feel happy. And they said, you finally gave into it. You finally let go and gave into it. I said, it's not even that. I didn't consciously let go of anything. I didn't do any ritual around it. I don't even feel like I'm letting go of anything anymore, although we did like 6 series on death and dying. But I'm like, it's different than that. And I keep waiting, going, and it's simple stuff like walking the dog. I find myself smiling. It's nothing substantial. Or it is. It's just new substantial. So, yeah. Yeah.
We just got a howdy in our chat room. I'm so excited. Thank you. Thank you. That's so cool. Yeah. A reminder, everyone, if you go to dearwoman.com, click on watch live, there's a chat room down below.
So I don't have that preview up, but Blue does. And questions, comments, the direction of where you want us to take the conversation, or you could even type in like one small word or phrase that we've said, and that will indicate to us to go back to it.
Right on.
Okay, let's revisit that. That's got some significance. Because we're grasping at straws, so anything you want to put on the table is helpful.
Yeah, that's right. Grasp at straws with us.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. I mean, even when I make an effort to try to give a vocabulary to this here and now, I'm empty. Yet I can feel I'm alive. I feel very connected. I'm very aware of my body, my heart. And I too would have to say that there's genuinely more of a happiness in me. I'm, I'm very at peace, but also what I've noted is, for the past 6 years, I've been really doing a hardcore solo journey. And as I've shared in many shows, have spent a lot of that in solitude, studying, meditation, and to the point where consciously consciously, I feel like I died so many deaths. And I was just asking the universe, it's like, come on now, what's up? I have a full thriving body here. You know who I am. You know what my skills and resources are. So source, mother, how may I serve you? And the next thing I know, I have gotten so much more physically active. I'm getting involved in projects. I've reconnected with the community. I'm having conversations, and everything feels like it's absolutely right on the timeline. Okay. So I too feel that a profound, significant shift has occurred. And like I said, coming to the artist colony, I couldn't have felt more welcomed. And each of the individuals, I'm just getting to know the community here, but the conversations are this rich.
Yeah.
The conversations are this rich. I am with people who do know, who are after the knowledge, who understand that, things aren't quite right. And it's very refreshing, very refreshing. Oh, here we go. Oh, I love it. Chat room. I agree with you so much in how things have felt tremendously more positive. Synchronicities abound. And the chat room name is, it looks like free dancer spirit, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But it's with a PHRE. Maybe it's like free dancer spirit. Just recently had a burst of energy, and my husband and I have thrown ourselves into setting up an organic garden. So fun. Oh, blessings. I'm so glad to hear this.
Yeah. So that's I'm so glad you're making comments, because again, I think we're reaching out. We have expanded beyond our cellular walls, and we're now in the age of reaching towards and expanding out of this body and connecting with others. And so comments like, yes, we just are putting in an organic garden, and, I just built a rocket ship. So, but, it's this idea that I think that we can't, okay, let me think for a minute how I want to say this, because this is something that's been churning around in me, is I am, my professional life and my ambitions in terms of being of service to the world with my talents has been, and Blue, I have been nose to the grindstone, pushing forward intensely, creative, just epiphanies and explosions happening over the past couple of years. And lately, all I've been dreaming about is making a chicken coop on wheels to bring from the cottage back to my house, to the cottage back to my, all I want is chickens, and I've been talking about this for a long time, but I was like, a chicken coop on wheels on a flatbed, I could just bring it back and forth. And these ideas, so where does that ambition fit in there? And all I've been doing is, ordering antique textiles to put on our walls and kind of really enjoying that, and not torturing myself because of it. Not going, yes, but I need to have this mastermind session with 5 other entrepreneur women, and if I don't do it, I'm a loser. And so I look back at my professional life and my master's degree and all this stuff I've done and gone, I wonder if that was a more extrinsic motivated thing. And so, and I've always wanted the chicken coop and the goats and all of that, and that will come one day. But now it's almost like I can't deny. It's not even denial. There's no
like organic. The organic is really what comes forward now.
Yeah, there's no battle around it anymore. It's not like I've got 2 sides of me going, the professional part and this other part. It's like, I'm just in this now and I'm happy. And my partner's like, Rebecca, who cares? Just decorate the walls. You got time. You're fine. I'm like, really? I don't know if I trust that yet, and then, but I'm not battling I'm not duality anymore. I'm just happy in whatever I'm doing in that moment. And I know professionally I'll get inspired again and it'll be fine. But I think it's going to come from the same place that organic farming and chicken comes from.
Okay.
And then duality.
Right.
that reminder, free dancer who wrote in because
Oh, I got it. It's Tracy. It's one of our regular viewers, and it's Fire Dancer Spirit. She laughed out loud, and she also says here, I'm obsessed with the food is free project. I just want to garden, grow food, and then give it away.
Yes.
Okay. And just to make a note, we have guinea hens coming to the sanctuary in about.
Speaking about how cute guinea hens are, I used to have them and I love them.
Yeah, the coop is being built this coming week, and I'll be one of the caregivers of the guinea hens. Yeah, that's what we're doing. I'm setting up growing food for the winter, and I've been growing food through the summer. And then we're setting up the Botanical Academy at Fire Home Earth. This is a big, big repurposing of the sanctuary. And we're going to be making medicinal tinctures, extracts, salves, and workshops and presentations. So I've had that call too, to just stay close to the mother, stay close to the earth. Awesome, Tracy says. Awesome, back at you, Tracy. So I feel the same way. And you said it's not duality any longer. You know what I think it is? I think we're lightening up on analyzing things.
Yes.
Okay. I think the analytic mind is taking a break, where you don't stop and think, well, let's see, was that a good idea? Should I have done this? Da, da, da. We're really dropping down into our hearts, taking a breath and going, dang, I just want to make a chicken. It's called Tracker, that project you want. It's a chicken tracker. When you put it on wheels, you fertilize one area and then you move the tracker. Let's see, sounds amazing. I'm always playing around with oils, etc.
Yeah, so am I.
I love having her. Yeah.
Yeah, we love having you on. Yeah, I could spend hours and days playing with oils and things. And I don't want to give up that professional part of myself because I think that's a service to the world too. But, it's so funny. The joke is always on us because.
Yeah, isn't it?
I came up here to kind of continue on this intense professional path. And it's really light right now. And I find myself painting walls and building shelves and, comfying the house for winter. And I'm like, yeah, I should be having a problem with this, but I don't.
Right.
And I feel safe and I feel happy and everything's going to be okay. And
I think you're a great example for any of our viewers because I want to encapsulate where you have been this past year.
Oh, this should be.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So where I've been like retreating into deep solitude, really, really meditating. All right. Becca has been going nonstop, 24/7, listening to probably 2 and 3 different podcasts on how to better her profession in creating her business, minding your business. And she has really taken a very professional approach. Okay. She's been studying, she's been looking at marketing, she's been looking at profiles, she's been talking to consultants, she's been enhancing her own coaching abilities, and she's been, doing homework essentially, all right? So much so that we lived in the same house. I had the apartment downstairs, she was upstairs. She was so involved, we barely got 3 words in a day, okay? So Rebecca has been like going nonstop. Everything's been about, she's going to get her business together, right? And in the midst of this, knew that she was going to make her move to Michigan. So I want all those people out there that have had this very ambitious, driving passion to create a very, a lucrative income, basically, right? And this is Becca saying, I arrived in Michigan and all I want to do is create a chicken tracker. This is what we call miracles.
And the great part about it is like, I haven't lost that part of it. I know it will come back around. And I've always said that, but it's different now. I've always said that I know what I need to know when I know it at any given moment. I trust myself unconditionally.
Yes.
And I do. My intuition over the years, I have honed my intuition to a point where in a split second I can go, yep, that's the direction I need to go. Or this business idea needs to go this way. Or this needs to happen this way. But, you know, my intention was to come up here and really like bone down on this business stuff and take it to yet another level.
Mm-hmm.
And that might happen in a month or so. It's just not right now. But
Right.
And I've been in places where I have been long-term solitude. And that has served me as well. So I know that piece as well.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I don't, and you and I have spoken to this idea of when we've been in such solitude that we're like, you know, get away people. Like I can't be out in the world and it's too much and I just need to go back into solitude, or being ambitious in our professional life and moving forward that way and not being able to be in solitude because we're so manicky or whatever about business stuff or so ambitious or so creative. And now I feel like I don't even have, as you said, I don't have to look at something and go, okay, now I'm going here because that is no longer working. It's just more of a flow. And so I'm not even questioning the fact that all I want is chickens right now because I know everything is sort of more integrated in a way where it'll be interesting to see when I get back into the oomph of building the next layer of my consulting work, how it's going to feel.
Yeah.
I probably will have great success. But it's going to feel really different. Like I don't question that.
Okay, so let's attribute that to this new timeline.
Yes.
See, I think this new timeline, because that's what's happened to me. I think the affirmations of being on a new timeline is that the synchronicities are more abundant. There is more of a peacefulness and flow. Okay. And what I've also noted, things that I use the word renounce, things I renounced that I was involved with before are reemerging, only I have a different relationship to them. And I feel that I'm open. I'm actually excited. It's like, all right, this is cool. You know, that I'm really working the earth right now physically. And I love my body, you know, like the strengthening that's happening. And I've always wanted to live as alternative as possible. And I end up in a school bus with solar, electricity, gravity flow water from a spring. You know, it's revealing in a whole new integrated way. Tracy added something here too. Let me see. Let me just go back here. She is saying, playing around. Okay. Totally not analyzing anymore. So true. Feels more like playtime nowadays, just flowing with whatever inspiration comes forward. And, and she looks forward to our conversations all week. Feeling your flow. She's so beautiful. That's a reminder to our listeners. If you go to dearwoman.com, you can also watch the CCN live feed, but below the broadcast, there's now a chat room, so you can chat with us. That's how I'm reading Tracy's messages to you.
I mean, we used to spend, we would make dates like, oh, do you have this afternoon open? Let's get together. And we would break it down and analyze stuff and cogitate. And we loved it. And it was great. And it was brilliant. And it served a purpose. But now we're like, what are you going to talk about? I don't know. What do you want to, like, we're back in that.
You can barely answer like, what's going on? Dang, I don't really know.
Yeah, well, our catchphrase with each other is, what do you know? Instead of how are you, we say to each other, what do you know? And we say like, well, your turn, what do you know? And now we're like, I don't know anything. Like, it feels
I do. I have a story. I have a story that happened to me.
I'm just letting everyone know that my daughter is by herself for this 2.5 hours. So I'm going to be popping in and out and checking on her. So I'm going to take a moment to do that.
All right.
First part of the story.
Okay. So most people who have been following the show know that I've been sharing, well, because I've been going back and rereading ancient texts like the Upanishads and Vedas and Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. I've been, Buddhism has been a real prominent thought that I've been chewing on. And each day I just kind of, I'm inspired to cultivate something in myself that just helps me to find the true knowledge inside myself that resonates with some of the, there are some gold nuggets in our scriptures. You just have to know how to discern. Okay. So I came across one, and basically the Buddhist message was until, one of the moments of enlightenment is when you reach the point where samsara, which samsara represents, say, the struggle and suffering in the world, duality. Okay. When samsara and nirvana are one and the same. In other words, it doesn't sway you one way or the other. You don't go up, you don't go down, you don't go happy, you don't go sad. You just see that it's one and the same. So I was starting to hold that affirmation to cultivate that in myself so that I could find, so that I could have my genuine truth resonance with it. So one night I was just over the top, thrilled with my life. Okay. I was sitting on the deck of my bus, and I had some funds, and I bought some of my favorite food, and I made a huge meal, like I knew I was going to feast that night. And so I'm cooking away, right? And I'm just like blissed out and grateful. Out of every mouthful I take, I go, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. And I have another bite. Okay, so here I am sitting in
out loud to herself, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I'm sitting in bliss, and one of my challenges in life is wasps. Okay. Yeah. I have a childhood story that certainly added to this fear, but I have a genuine, I am like wasp and me. That's my thing that I'm working out. So here I am in bliss, and I'm just like, my movement, I'm just laying back going, yum. And I lay back, and oh my gosh, there's a wasp alive and thriving on my light bulb, my little DC light bulb. And I'm like, and these days I go, Mother, I thought we talked about this. So, but this is the insight I had from it, is that first of all, I was in such a calm state, really. I was so in my bliss that more calmly than usual, I didn't get afraid. I got my little carrying jar and my little cardboard, and I just very, very painlessly captured the wasp and took it outside. But then what happened to me was I had this experience of like just totally sobered. It was like my bliss, everything just sobered. And I sat outside on the deck. It was in the night sky now. And I sat there and I just kind of chuckled out loud, and I went, yeah, samsara and nirvana are one. And I realized in that moment, when we talk about duality, I was a little in the extreme in my bliss. There's no doubt. I was excited. I was overjoyed with my food. And the wasp, vroom, it sobered. I got sobered so fast, yet I came to balance and realized that was a more genuine and useful place to be. But I did have to sit and chuckle, and I thought, there it is, where how often in our past, oh, we've got a caller. Welcome in. Come on in. You're a little garbled. Talk to me some more. Oh, you were there and you're gone. Okay, keep trying, caller. Love having callers. So in our past, I think before this timeline, I think one of my questions, I know it was one of my questions all along on a spiritual path. It's like, you'd have those days, everything was going great, and it's nothing but great things. And then boom, something happened, right? Oh shit, what's going on? Is there someone online? No. Okay. So, and then you'd go, dang. And I think we had a misconception about our spirituality, that we were all going to reach a place of bliss and stay there, sustain it. And years and years ago, I realized, no, that's not it at all. But it comes back to this affirmation that I was speaking of, that the samsara and the nirvana are one. And therefore, the challenges in the world do not go away. It's simply our relationship to them. And when we find that neutral zone where we can be, we're neither up or down when the wasp shows up, or up or down when I have a feast, that my relationship to both of them is one and the same. And I think that is the portal, the doorway to what we might call heaven on earth. So I just wanted to share that. How you doing over there, Beth?
Hey, I'm good. We're all
here. Tracy, I agree. The timeline jump has felt evident to me and my husband as well. And let's see, laugh out loud. I have that with spiders. Oh, that's cool. I practice saving them. Nice, Tracy. Yeah. I try not to kill them anymore. I just try to escort them out and wish them well. And then I ask the universe, I said, look, if I can jump into a new timeline, I'm asking that the insect kingdom be in a timeline that we don't share. And that my guidelines are, we do not interfere with each other. Okay. And there's plenty of space on the earth for the insect kingdom to be elsewhere. But I want you to do what you do, pollinate and, eat mosquitoes or whatever you do. But don't interfere with me. She said, feeling the beauty in all experiences. That's right. That's right. We just had someone try to call back. I hope they try to call back.
Okay.
It didn't come all the way through.
Okay. That was through CCN?
Yeah, what it is, the numbers we have up on the screen, and then they call through, and it just, we'll hear the audio.
I was trying to think of what my thing is, not spiders, not bees. I think mine's my digestion. And it'll be interesting to see how that's starting to shift too with all this going on.
Yeah.
I want to go back to, this is on my mind, when you said living in solitude and going out in the world felt really overwhelming and almost prickly. And then you'd have to sit even longer to recover from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I struggled so much in relationships too, is I needed so many years of being in solitude, yet there was a part of me that wanted that life of partnership and family and these things. And then I would get in it and I would prickle. I couldn't find my footing. I couldn't find my spaciousness. And you and I have spoken a lot about this, having similar experiences with this, but from a different place.
Mm-hmm.
You getting really big and me getting really small and not being able to just be who we are in that with another, or in a family structure or a community setting, whatever family means to you. And I found once I had that dream, that 40-second waking dream, which totally shifted me on a cellular level, that I'm not feeling the need to recover from the moments of partnership or a community or whatever. I mean, I'm still an introvert, and I still love my, I could be with a very few amount of people for the rest of my life, growing food, doing my thing, projecting. I don't need the masses to recover my sense of energy. I'm an introvert, but I call myself an extroverted introvert because I need very meaningful connection, and I need that, but I don't need like going to a bar to get my yayas out to regain my energy. So I'm an extroverted introvert, and I'm not shy, and most of my work is in front of many, many people. But with that said, I've noticed that, as I spoke last week to this half-waking dream. Are you in the yard?
Pardon?
Hey, go picture. I'm Lily.
You're talking to Lily.
Sleeping. She's fine. She'll live.
Thank
eating, but she's okay.
Okay. Okay.
I think she cut her tongue, not a lollipop.
Oh, ouch. I don't like it when that happens.
Oh, she comes to the room and she goes, there's blood. I'm like, you're not dying. You're fine. But I've noticed that I have not needed to gear myself up to be in the moments of partnership and then recover from it to regain that space and energy, then to be able to go back into it with enough space.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it speaks to this idea of just feeling more joyful. And, you know, walking the dog as a family used to feel like, oh, this is taking so much time out of my life, and where I could be sitting in stillness. And now that's the part that creates spaciousness for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke to this about the dream, how I didn't really even reflect on it after it was done. I just went, whoa, something happened, and then went on about my life, which is also that the lessening of the analytic brain. But then I started seeing the reverb from that dream and the effects of it over time. And as I said to everyone last week, people are even looking different, more sensual, more handsome, prettier, lighter, more glowing. And I think they're also having shifts. I don't think part of it is that my perception is changing, obviously. My experience of that person is changing and the circumstances. But I also think that even people who have not consciously had a spiritual vocabulary or a practice are also shifting. So I'm seeing the maturation in them as well, the integration in them as well, where I kind of have gone, is that the same thing that used to piss me off that doesn't anymore? Or is it look different? And it's both. It looks different too. Even the people who aren't consciously in practice and have that vocabulary are also shifting and changing. And so that's helping me, of course, obviously be happier too, but also the cellular genetic shift in myself is also the nirvana meeting the subpar in that way, where whether it's a bee or the toilet seat up or something stupid someone says, you know, that's like, oh, that's my pet peeve saying, or whether it's absolute bliss, which is changing. Walking the dog is bliss now, when it used to feel like, oh my God, I don't have the energy for this. I need to sit longer.
It's kind of like doing anything, you know, where I might have went, oh man, I'm tired. And it's like, then I just get up and I do it, and it's different. You know, I want to take a moment and I want to say thank you to the world. Okay. I want to say thank you to all the family of humanity, because we are doing this together. So this is an indicator that we have jumped, if we can use that reference, we've jumped a timeline. And that means there's a large enough percentage of us that has held this intention together, because we wouldn't be here sharing this beauty and peace and grace if our brothers and sisters hadn't been working with us.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point. Even the ones that consciously are not consciously doing it are still doing it. And it goes to the broadcast we did when I went down to the deep Southwest and taught at a school. And I was like, whoa, these teachers are awake, man. They have never in their life meditated, opened a book, nothing. But I walk into the school and instead of battling them to shift their paradigm and teach them and coach them with what I do, they were so right there with me. And I came back to the next broadcast going, something's changing out there. Something is changing.
Yes, yes. Tracy just wrote to us again. Here we are. Same here, Becca. It definitely helps that my husband is on board with my perspectives and processes. Applause, loving this timeline. Yeah. And I think, you know, if we can start to recognize it's a we are doing this.
Yeah.
So thank you to all our brothers and sisters who have made this shift possible.
Thank you to all our brothers and sisters who made the show possible.
Yeah, right. And so I feel like now maybe that's what we're doing is like, you know, we're just reporting it's my favorite phrase. We're reporting the barometer of consciousness of our family. Because even if you watch the other shows on CCN, you know, and the more serious investigative reporting, you know, like Dean Clifford or D on Conspicuous News. I mean, there's still the cycling around to that heartful space. Like news is being reported, just here kids, this is what, it's a barometer of how that timeline's working, right? But there is a different presentation. We're not into fear porn, okay? We're not trying to scare people. In fact, if anything, I think there's more humor in the reports than ever before, right? So bravo on us. This is a bravo show. Oh, it's a bravo moment. Bravo, bravo.
The theme around grasping at straws is like, it would be nice, and I think we're getting there, is having a little bit of conceptualizing a little bit of what those straws are or are not.
Right.
And I think
all right, that's a good idea. Okay, so, I think, like what I was just talking about, being tired, okay? One moment I feel like I'm tired. And I check and reflect on, well, is that the thought I want to have? Am I really tired? It goes on and on, the analysis. And the grasping at the straw is...
The analysis, for one. That's part of the straw.
Yeah, that's right. That's the analysis is the straw. Actually, you could stop right there. And it's like you're reaching to have an analysis of whether you're okay or not, whether that's a good motivation. You question yourself, right? Okay, so questioning ourselves would be grabbing for a straw.
So what would that look like? Wow, I just got really tired. Is that, was there a chemtrail? Was there a solar flare? Did I eat some genetically modified food and didn't know it? Was there a high fructose corn syrup in that granola bar that I ate? Or was there gluten?
Right.
Or did I have an interaction with somebody, yesterday that wasn't resonating with me now? And it's just like, no wonder I'm fucking tired.
Yeah, right. Instead of just going, I'm fucking tired, I'm not getting off my ass. And if the mother wants me to do another project, then she'll have to provide the juice and the energy to do it.
Exactly.
Then you sit down and you just do what you do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good straw grasp. And now over analyzing. We'll call it over analyzing. All right. So, well, actually, that could encapsulate just about every straw for that matter, but I'm sure there's others.
I know another straw.
Okay.
It's the should straw. I should be meditating.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Straws. And there's 3 separate straws, I think. But I know like a lot of the Americanized versions of spirituality and yoga, or the trend in those things, is that, if you do this, you will get to nirvana. If you do this, you will have a body that is healthful and in stasis. If you do this. So then the duality, and again, it's the same thing as my professional life. If I do this, I will be extrinsically rewarded. And it's really not coming from this deep, deep place. And so I think the shoulda are, I should be meditating every morning for 62 minutes. And if I don't, then I'm not going to have success in all these arenas of my life.
Okay, and there you go. So the straw of setting up the scenario of what you should be doing in order to have something.
Yeah.
What you should be doing to have something.
That mostly spiritually, because that's been our trajectory in terms of our spiritual life. And, maybe I'm being a complete ass by saying that, and maybe it's just me that experiences my spirituality like that. But I've studied with lots of gurus, and I've studied with lots of really profound practitioners. And I've produced Kundalini yoga trainings with people. And the whole kind of notion behind it is, if you do this practice this way, and I'm not belittling commitment to something and being diligent and being, training yourself. But what I'm speaking to is what's behind that. The intention behind the 62 minutes of meditation every morning at 4:30, not the fact that you're doing it, but the intention and the split in yourself of what that is, and finding the joy purely of the moment of it, as opposed to if I do this, I'll get that, or I should be
Mhm.
doing this because I want to be a better person, or this is the practice that I do to be, heaven on earth, or,
Mhm.
um,
Right.
and hopefully that will take you to a place where you're integrated and you just do it because for the love of it. But I'm just questioning the straw of maybe the should straw is a split in our it's a soul split
Yeah. Yes.
in our
Yes.
spirituality.
Okay. Tracy has another good comment here. It's almost like we've learned how to be fully aware without effort, without the desire to analyze. And that would explain like what each of us are sharing about a little more relaxed. It's like we know what to do
Mhm.
and we don't have to think about what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe, that my favorite expression, source uninterrupted, okay? And I really trust that the universe, it's like the mother, the mother knows her child better than the child knows itself, okay? And it's like the mother, our mother, the planet, she knows us better than we know ourselves. So it's almost like we're starting to relax and trust our mother again, that she knows and we are being provided for. She even knows what our greatest joys are, like the things that have shown up in my life. I was not consciously calling in. I wasn't intentioning, yet I get an alternative run bus. Okay. It's like, I love solar. I love spring water. And it was gifted to me. And I think that we're starting to trust a deeper frequency of trust, which is maybe the antidote to the analytical mind, because we are knowing now that we are being taken care of. We are being guided, like even your business. The mother knows where your passion is with your business. Okay. And you don't have to spell it out. You don't have to spell it out. And at the right moment, probability, timing, she's gonna put you right where you need to be. Unless of course it isn't what you really need. But my point being is that trust that we are being provided for, that we are a heartful community of people, and we are unfolding like this moment.
When you said the mother, it's, a mother knows her child better than the child knows herself. And it brings up two things. One's an image of the meditation practice I used to do of crawling, the Divine Mother in all her stuff and her throne and her jewels, sitting in her, amazingly gold throne. And she was 40 feet high, and I would tap on her and crawl up her leg and sit in her lap. And my meditation was sitting against her and her breathing for me. Like, she would do the breathing for me. And we've talked about meditation before.
Right.
So that meditation is still something really important to me.
Yeah.
That's an image that came to me during spiritual work, and I've kept it. But the other thing that's so cute is that my daughter always, she'll do something and I'll say, that's not okay. Like, that's going to wind up hurting, or it's going to spill, or,
Mhm.
or I'll give her some advice how to deal with another child, or anything. And afterwards she'll go, she'll go, I hate it that you're always right, Mom. You are always right. And she says, it's like you know me better than I know myself.
Uh-huh.
But I'm your mama. I'm supposed to know you better than you know yourself.
Exactly. So why wouldn't our mother know us better than ourselves? Of course she does. Yeah. She's grander than we are. She has more love, wisdom, and knowledge than we do. And so it makes perfect sense to surrender to her. Now, she's not saying, I'm going to take responsibility for you. Okay?
No.
But
guide you in your decisions and the choices you make.
Right. But she's going to be like a mother that kind of points us in the direction, like, I know you love this. You may not realize it, but I know you love this. So here's some probabilities that are going to bring that to you. Or, I know you don't like that. I'm sorry. Right now you feel like, I did you wrong and you can't go on that trip. But I'm telling you, You wouldn't have liked what was at the end of that trip.
I say to Lily, I say to her, you know, you'd save yourself a lot of grief and struggle if you would just listen to me and trust me. I say, and trust what I'm trying. I'm on your side. Trust me. I know this. Not only because I know you, but I know life experience. And not that I'm, the divine energy, which I am, but I'm saying that metaphor. And so it's this really interesting, if you look at my relationship with her as her mama to the divine mother, and how we have just not trusted.
Yes.
And we fighting her decisions and her advice and
exactly
fight against it. And we go, oh, I'm going to do it my way anyway. And then we go, darn it, she was right again,
Exactly. And you go, why didn't I listen?
You would save yourself a lot of grief and struggle if you just trusted me and listened to me. She's saying to us, just like I didn't say that to my daughter.
Yes, it's so true. And I mean, a mother to her child, you want to provide the best. Well, so does our mother. She wants us to have the best. Think about it. We want our children to thrive. We want them to be safe. We want them to enjoy, be happy. Well, of course, the mother wants that for us too. But we got to get out of the way. Just like the resistance of a child. The child has to let the resistance go and receive that the mother's guiding you. She is guiding you in a good way. And this, of course, is saying that, we're talking about a clean relationship, an emotionally mature relationship, mother and daughter, just like the mother. She's not, our greater mother is not laying trips on us. We lay trips on us. Our greater mother doesn't give a flying fuck whether it's black or white. She's not doing any discrimination on us. She's not giving us racial attitudes. She's not telling us who's good or who's bad. She's just going, what I offer to you is nourishment. I offer to you vitality, life, medicines of the plants, food, good air to breathe, water, earth, fire. She gives us beautiful things. Let's see, what's Tracy got here? This is new, having to facilitate a chat. I'm glad it's just one of us right now. Let's see. Okay. There is a new knowing, feeling of support. And because mama knows, laugh out loud. Same thing with my 13-year-old daughter, Hannah. She hates me being right. There you go. Right? Okay, so a reminder to our listeners, we now have a chat room for Get Lit. If you go to dearwoman.com and click on Watch Live, you'll see the CCN broadcast window, and right below it is a chat room. And it's also Chat Wings. So those of you that have visited other shows, mostly Roundtable, Collective Imagination, you already have a username, and you can just click right into Chat Wing, chat room. And we have Tracy. And it feels so wonderful, Tracy. I feel like we have this beautiful little shrine. She's so present. I'm so grateful.
If anybody's just listening to the broadcast, you might want to spell out, because they can't see the icon below of dearwoman.com.
Oh, well, if they're only listening, then they don't have the visual to go to the chat room. Oh, no, maybe. Okay, so Dear Woman is spelled DEERWOM as in Mary, ON as in Nancy, dearwoman.com. And then just click on Watch Live.
There you have it. So what do you want to talk about?
Oh, one more announcement.
Okay.
For any listeners that are in our local area. Oh, we've got a caller. Hello, caller.
Well, hello. How are you?
Oh, very good. And who might I be speaking with?
This is John Derrick from the Art Colony.
Oh, how fabulous. Thank you for calling in.
Watching and calling
Well,
in.
Well, I was listening, and I thought I would chime in because you guys were talking about the mother and all that. And what kind of went through my head was when you love someone unconditionally, you accept them regardless of their faults and what have you. So it's kind of like one of those things where you're there for a person when they fall and you let them make the mistakes they need to grow, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And I feel like as far as Mother Earth goes, I think it's the same thing. I think she's there to help you when you fall, but she's going to let you make the mistakes you need to make to grow and be a stronger person and be a wiser person. Because sometimes we have to experience things firsthand before we can actually say, you know, we know for a fact. I mean, people can tell you all day, this is exactly what's going to happen when you do this. Sometimes when you do it, it doesn't turn out exactly as that because that was their experience, not yours. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I like you reminding us that, you know, we do that too with the mother. Like, you know, we make different decisions and sometimes we hurt ourselves and sometimes we don't. But we have the freedom to, that I guess that's our free will.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that we get to explore. Like exploration is how we're learning.
Correct. And that's why I think even though you're being guided, I mean, I know, Lord knows there's a lot of times where my parents have been right, but I had to see for myself because I'm that type of learner, you know, I'm a hands-on learner. I need to see for myself. But then not everything is always going to be as it's told to you either. So I think when it comes down to it, you can kind of put the same thing with the flow of life. I mean, we all have the ability to create our own reality. So not every outcome is going to be the same exact every time. So I think that's why a lot of times Mother Nature will kind of let you just go at your own pace, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. I think the mother is extremely forgiving and allows us to, you know, she points us in certain directions and allows us to take the cues or not the cues. I mean, I think, and that's reflective in a mother-daughter relationship on the planet. I mean, there are times where, yeah, you know your daughter best. You've given the suggestion, but you know she's going to go left instead of right. And so you're already got the wherewithal. Well, she'll learn from that. She'll come back and go, well, I guess I could have done it the other way. But that's how we learn.
That reminds me, thank you for bringing that up, John, because it reminds me of how many times have all of us experienced a maybe near death, but something where we could have had much worse things happen. You know, our car skids on the ice and instead of rolling down the embankment, the railing catches us and we right ourselves. Or, you know, we're walking somewhere and we just miss stepping in a huge pile of broken glass. Or, you know, we get out of our car and seconds later when we cross the street, a huge bus goes out of control. You know, so I think the Divine Mother, puts us in situations where she's going to teach us, you know, she's giving us the opportunities to go right instead of left, but not so hard right that we don't recover. And I do that with my daughter as well. Like, I just keep a real close eye on things, and I was like, well, this one's not going to kill her and it's not going to make her bleed. So I'm going to let her do this and see where it goes. And I just kind of hover around it and kind of watch what's going on. And then if she's going to take that hard right, I go, whoop, put her back and go, okay, so what did you learn from that? And I think the Divine Mother, the energy that is so sacred that teaches us, does the same for us, because, you know, there's been 100 situations where I should have been dead by now and I'm not, or injured or something. And I've gone, whew, I will remember that forever and I will not do that again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think there's several levels of love, too. You have tough love just as much as you have. So, I mean, I think it's very realistic to say as much as we use tough love in our day-to-day with the people in our lives or our children or what have you, Mother Nature is very capable of doing the same thing. And that's just, you know, kind of, sometimes you have to fall flat on your face before you can really learn the lesson, especially if you're stubborn as I can be at times.
That's so true. That's so true. You know, Gandhi, since we have you online and you are part of the artist colony, would you like to share a little bit about the healing work that you do?
Well, right now, where I'm at in my path of it all is, in truth, I don't know. Right now, I've been letting it come to me. So, if that makes any sense, I feel like the healing that I put out in the universe is for people that need it at that moment, and they find me when they need it, and that's pretty much how I roll at the moment.
Yeah. That sounds like our moment today, our moments on the show today.
Past grasping at straws, and you're letting it come to you.
Yeah. That's right. Right. You're not grasping, you're allowing. And I think that's what the theme of this conversation has been, is that that's the timeline. And that's a symptom of this new timeline, is that we're not choosing to make anything happen. We're allowing. And then as anyone comes into our lives, we're present, and present to whatever that healing exchange may be.
Well, I think even for healers, as well as in life itself, I mean, it's kind of like a circle of life. You know, even with faith, I think we get to a point where we hit rock bottom before we come back, if that makes sense. And I know in my life right now, I'm on the rising cusp of the circle, if you will. But for a while there, I feel like I was just kind of in this thing where I quit being the teacher, and I had a moment of learning, you know, a moment of less spirit and more physical, just because that's where life was taking me at that time. So.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. But
I definitely appreciate you all having me on your show. And I really do think what you're doing is wonderful. So I wanted to definitely chime in and participate for a second there.
Well, certainly grateful. So grateful.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you both, and you have a wonderful day, and blessed to all of you.
Blessings to you too, my friend.
All right.
Right on. Bye-bye, John D.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think that just spiraled around, like that last part of conversation with John D is, again, we come back to that trusting. I kind of like that. I'd almost like to talk more about that, deepening our trust. And as we deepen our trust, that means in some essence, we really are embracing the mystery, the unknown, the invisible, the subtle. We're starting to have more relationship to the energies that we feel but can't see. And to me, that's a more, that in some way, that's a more scientific, if I can say it that way, a scientific cycling around to our spiritual nature.
Which is sort of what I said in the beginning, that there's all of this convergence of science and spirituality. I don't know if I said it on air or not, but there's this big trend.
Yeah.
Science of spirituality, and it's always been there. We're just uncovering it, and that physics is being turned on its end, and they're not able to make sense of things that they thought were actual fact and reality.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think we're starting to sense and feel that which does not to the naked eye. And
it's kind of like all that we've intentioned. You know, we've been setting intentions on this planet for a long time. Even in this lifetime, we can just go back to the harmonic convergence, you know, and then 2012, we set intention. And I think what's happening now is we're seeing our intentions are being fulfilled. We just don't, it isn't the other timeline we're supposed to look at to see if they're coming or not. It's this new timeline that's telling us, yes, your dreams are coming true right now. Your love of life is blossoming right before your very eyes. And yeah, that other stuff over there, it's still there, but you're in this timeline. And I think that's it. It's like our dreams are coming true now. Oh, let's see what Tracy's got to say here. I have to catch up with her a little bit too, because it's moving through a little bit. Let's see. Where are we? She said that. Oh, she's so happy to be here, and she loves us ladies. And then through the experience, we gain the knowing. And have you read the Celestine Prophecy series? Rereading it after 20 years, I'm amazed how it lays out this unfolding.
That's so, because in the beginning of the show, I was going to mention that book as something that's been on my mind, and
Okay.
as a reference to something you said, and then we moved past that point.
Okay, well, the four agreements.
Thank you for taking notes on what's going on in my brain, Tracy, because I had forgotten that.
She's one of our sisters for sure.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so what do you want to talk about?
Well, I was going to elaborate on the Celestine Prophecy.
Yeah.
The one that I always love is be impeccable with your speech, your thoughts, your actions. Oh, and the one that's become more prominent in my life is don't take things personally. That's a really good agreement.
That's not the Celestine Prophecy, though.
Are you serious?
That's the Four Agreements.
I thought that was part of the Celestine Prophecy. Tracy, is that part of the Celestine Prophecy? Let's see. Laugh out loud. My pleasure. I think we're in sync. Are the Four Agreements part of the Celestine Prophecy, Tracy? Well, then, Becca, what were you referencing from the Celestine Prophecy?
The state of the earth as nirvana, and everybody getting to a certain level where, like, you can, we can understand plants, and plants understand us, and we've gotten to a place where we're so clean and clear.
Okay. She says not the first book, it's the insights.
Right. But were you referencing anyway, the first book is what I was in my head referencing, of that state of nirvana in reality and the way we live, and how we are all one with everything, and we can communicate with everything, and we live clean, and state of utopia, spiritual and physical utopia.
Right.
And how this bliss, this feeling is moving towards that.
Yeah, I'm reading another one of Aldous Huxley's books right now called Island. And are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's really fascinating because it's kind of like if you were to read the history of an indigenous tribe before any capitalists or dictators tried to move in on it, and they have a Buddhist influence on this island, and it's like Huxley's. You can see that continuing theme of his, like Brave New World. Only this is the other side of it. This is the island. This is where the planet. Yeah. And it's really beautiful. And he makes some really distinct points of, how people can live and be happy, and there's prosperity when there's the absence of greed, or the absence of a ruler that isn't being responsible for the people. And it just goes on and on. It's like, the state of nirvana. Life is good. It's healthy. People have what they need because nobody's trying to enslave them, period. But I think what we're doing is this new timeline, and understanding quantum physics and the new understanding of multiple dimensions and realities, is that we are significantly in a new timeline, simultaneous. It's like simultaneous parallel universes. Yeah, I mean, it's really happening right now, because how can we be experiencing this awareness, this refreshing, right, if the world was getting worse?
Well, and I think some things in the world by our old paradigm or the old timeline are getting worse. I mean, things are falling apart. And that's what I always say. The world's falling apart. What a great time to be alive. It's like because it's cleaning itself up. We're hitting the refresh button. And when you hit the refresh button, it says, do you like to close all your browser windows or just this one? Would you like to close everything out? And it's kind of, we have to get rid of certain things. We have to let go of. And sometimes that letting go can be traumatic or disorienting or whatever it may be. And then you hit the refresh button. You're like, oh, it's same channel, same program, but it's coming in more clear, or I'm getting it back again. Right. So I love that metaphor. Like we're refreshing. We're hitting that refresh button on it.
Yeah. And that was one of the intentions. That was the collective intention to do a reset. We did it. We have done it. We're continuing to do it. But I think, I really sense in this moment that we're strengthening.
Yeah.
We're strengthening.
And when you were speaking of the book, The Island versus Brave New World, it's interesting. The thought that came to mind, my inner dialogue went to, yeah, and isn't it interesting that only in modern times, the past, century, maybe even less, where we're cultivating and organizing, and this speaks to Huxley too, in Brave New World Revisited, we are organizing our daily lives around bigger cities, oligarchies, government, where typically the organization of communities were never more than a couple of hundred people. Because once you get past the couple of hundred people mark, then you have to get into levels of hierarchy of organization, and people aren't like the beehive. People aren't working together in a hive and then working together with other hives separately but together. It's like it's one big mass thing, and then we kind of implode on ourselves. So it's very actually new in terms of evolution to work in such big, huge communities, cities, whatever we want to call them. And I think that's part of our downfall. That is part of what's happening, where we're cleaning out the old programming. We're hitting refresh, and in order to hit refresh, we've got to do some reprogramming. We've got to get rid of some stuff, and it'll be really fascinating to see what happens in the next 100 years. If our cities then become smaller pods or hives of a couple of hundred people who then have a couple of representatives that work together with, and I guess ostensibly that's what we're supposed to be doing when we have, mayors and aldermen and things like that. But really, we know that the voices are not heard because the paradigm and the way we have been conditioned to drone in a certain way, we're really not awake enough to manage in a couple of hundred people communities that then can walk to the next community. And it doesn't matter who's walking over there. It doesn't have to be the alderman and say, our community didn't have a cotton crop this year. Can we trade you for this and that and work together? So it'll be really interesting to see what happens.
Well, I had written an article not long ago about the macro perspective being an enslavement tool that has kept us distracted. That the mass organizing and mass production has taken away the integrity of our individuality. And that when you listen to everyone who is talking about returning to the land, it's that, that old phrase that we had come up in our grassroots politics about, what is it? Think global, think global, act local. That's what it was. And one of the things that Huxley says in his writings is he really encourages us not to even try to take the old timeline from the top down, but to get into our local precincts. And he says, start from the bottom up. And I had written another article about that. But start from the bottom up, get into your local precincts, and then work your way up. And so I think, too, that the mass macro managing has just been another divisive tool. I think we are supposed to be smaller groups. And I don't even know, like what Becca just said, she said 200 or 300. And I'm kind of thinking that, my picture just went off. Here we go. I'm kind of thinking is that we're more likely at this stage of the game to start with small groups of, say, 6 or 7. I think learning how to have a core, get a good functioning core that shares similar values and similar reverence of the earth, that then a community would grow from that. But I think even within one community, there can be small clusters of 6 or 7, and then start to do what you're saying. Like, let's say, even if we take our small town here of Eureka Springs, there's a lot of organic growers, and not everyone's growing the same food. So you take, 2 or 3 smaller groups, which we do have here, 6 or 7, and you start to work that way. You say, okay, we're going to grow this over here. We know you grow that over there. Let's meet in town. Let's meet in a place, and we'll exchange, the different foods. But I do think we need to get away from that macro managing. And I don't think it's something we're supposed to perfect. I think it's something we're supposed to forget about. I think it's what divided us. It's what's dividing us. And, remember, when we had more freedom on this planet, and not just this country, but we had smaller states, we had smaller self-governing, and we were more successful. And then the distraction, the political enslavement tool, was to start losing that smaller integrity, getting us into the mass consciousness, creating a dependency on now, industrialization, import, export. And it's like, granted, there may be value in import, export, but not to the extent that it is. So like, if you look at our major cities with millions in the city, electricity breaks down and plumbing breaks down. We've got millions of people that haven't got a clue. There's no way to turn. It's like, and even if you look at when we have crisis again, people, you help immediately who's beside you. You feed who's immediately beside you. And then as that core gets taken care of, then they start to think about, okay, now how do we feed more? And you work with the bigger community.
Yeah. So if you have once we get past 1,000 people, 20,000 people, 13 million people, LA has 13 million people in it. There is no way to regulate autonomy without manipulating and controlling. And, I watched this really interesting, I wonder if either one of you have seen this movie, or anyone else who might be watching, let me know if you've seen this movie. But Lily had seen it before, and I had never seen it. And she said, it's really good, Mom. It's not a movie that I normally would watch, but it was called Beasts of the Southern Wild. Have any of you seen it?
No, I haven't.
It's really amazing. And it's rated PG-13, but it's not a kid movie. Conceptually, it's not necessarily a kid's movie, but it's about the main character is this little girl, this little African-American girl living in outside New Orleans, and she's about 5 or 6 years old, and living just in the swampland in this really small community. Most of the people are completely poor, degenerate, alcoholics. Regardless of that, they're good people, and they know the storm's coming. And so this whole movie is about her relationship to her mother, who is left, and her father, who's still there, but he has her in a different home. Like, she has to live on her own because he's half crazy. And then the storm happens, and how the community sort of comes together in their crazy way. And also how her imagination builds metaphor and archetype around the storm and what that means, and around coming together and what that means. And and how at some point they are forced into shelter in the city. And then they escape and get back out to their community, which is no longer anything other than, mud once the water drains out. but it was really fascinating because you're seeing the perspective and the meaning, the making of meaning through the 6-year-old girl's eyes, who's basically been sort of on her own, eating cat food most of her life, living in the Delta with this crazy community of people who are pretty much non-functioning in regular society. But when this happens, they actually wind up staying community. They refuse to leave, and they wind up growing some of their own food and doing stuff like that, and then they're forced out.
Give me the title again, and I'll put it in our updated webpage on CC.
Yeah. Beasts of the Southern Wild.
Beast of the Southern Wild. Okay. And I will also put in my 2 articles that I just referenced, because it looks like Tracy had read one of them. She said, I remember that article, and as I pondered it, it really made so much sense. Maybe reconsider my perspective. Tracy, are you talking about the one on the macro perspective, or the one about entering the lower precincts of our governing offices? And then she says she hasn't seen it. What is that title again? Okay. Beast of the Southern Wild. You got it. That's it. And she said she'll check it out for sure. She just found it on Amazon.
Yeah. I think we watched it on demand.
Okay.
And I think it's on Netflix too.
Okay.
But it was surprising to me because I was expecting something my daughter watched to be, because it was described to me as a movie about this girl's fantasy life. So I thought, oh, it's going to be like Labyrinth or The Never Ending Story, where it's got very adult sort of imagery and really beautiful, not like Barbie stuff. But it wasn't anything like that at all. It was just really profound movie. And she cried. Lily never cries in movies, and she was like, oh, at the end of it.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm gonna look that up too. That sounds great. Yeah, I think especially, now that we are acknowledging and naming this new timeline, and perhaps there's more than one, but it just seems like I remember there was a spiritual message that came in. Oh gosh, it must have been at least a year ago. I don't remember who did it, but her message was, go back into your closets and try out some ideas that you had earlier in life, because right now the planetary energies are more forgiving and welcoming and supportive of those ideas happening. And so I think in some way we had some of these ideas probably back in the 60s, and that they are recycling around. Only now, I think because of the energetics, we have a lot more opportunity. And I also think about that a lot in where, in the 60s, there's a lot of people who tried communities. And, most people have not such good memories of how all those communities ended up. There are very, very few that sustained. And I think now when we go back to talking about communities again, I think too, because of the awareness we're having, like just that alone, less analytical and more in the flow would probably be more conducive to good community relations. And then that also ties into what I brought up last week about our mutual friend, Lorna Trigg Hirsch, who comes from a South African background, and her cultural influence in her perspective of community is so much healthier, because she saw, she was confronted at such a personal and close level. So, it's kind of like she got woken up. She wasn't looking to wake up, but she got woken up because she had to. And so just because of all the changes in the world right now, I think us, that think globally, act locally, would probably take root, would probably hold up.
I think, and I could be wrong, but I remember doing an episode where a lot of what we spoke to was this idea. It was when one of our episodes about quantum physics and spirituality, and how we did that whole thing where if you just, it's all right there. It's still, just because you had an idea and it didn't manifest 20 years ago, it doesn't mean it disappeared. It's still floating out there. And now we're in a timeline where we can go, oh, there it is again, I'm going to grab it. And encouraging people to revisit those dreams and those things, because manifestation has become a much more manageable, ready at hand tool because of our evolutionary leap. And I think it was Lily Earthling, because we were speaking a lot of her at that time when we were picking these themes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know she was talking about the Earth timeline.
Right.
And I think it might have been her, but yes, this idea that just because everything is always and will ever always be right here with us.
Yeah.
And now the universe's gateways or doorways are more open. So we can reach, it's less dense now. So you can reach up through this, it's more permeable, and go,
Yeah.
I want that again. It didn't disappear on you. You can reach up and you can get it. And most likely, probability, evolutionary, biology is in your favor.
Yeah.
Try it again, because we're more equipped spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
And even just our brain capacity is
Mm-hmm.
more equipped, but also the universe itself. Just if you speak from a science standpoint,
Exactly.
we're aligned differently. The
Yeah.
magnetic field is in a different place, and I think that's part of what we speak to when we say we're grasping at straws. And it's like, because our brains are still shifting a bit, but
Yeah.
we're getting here, and it's like, no, you don't have to grasp at straws. In a moment, we are going to know exactly what to grasp for in this infinite timeline that is never before or after. It's always right there with us. And so if you have something
Yeah.
that you always dreamed of, or you tried and you failed, but it's still gnawing at you, that is the straws that we should be grasping at.
Uh-huh.
Trust and have faith and go after it, because it's more permeable now. It's more grabbable now. No more straws. Grab at the universe. Grab at the quantum field.
Nice. That was really well said. And that's what I spoke to earlier. I'm not even thinking of what was in the closet.
Right?
And the mother has provided. I mean, 35, 40 years ago, I had purchased land. I had built a house from the ground up. It was all alternative utilities. And then I lost it because of a tax fluke. And I would have had to take the case to the state, and there was no way I was going to do it. I lost the dream. And what does the mother do? I was not even looking to recreate that dream. She gave me back that alternative house with alternative utilities. And I am so you don't even have to think about it. That's number one. And number two, this is related to what we said earlier. Right in this moment, we can say thank you to our brothers and sisters, because this collective consciousness is what we intended. It's here now. And that inner technology, the iTech, it's like we're really getting it. This subtle energy is for real, and we're starting to trust it. We're starting to trust this. When I wave it, it moves. And that's where our richness and our deepest spiritual being resides, not in the suit, but in this right here.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
So I think about it like farming too. We're farming the quantum field, and I put an idea out there 20 years ago, and I might not have been ready for its success, and I might not even be interested in it anymore. But I can go to someone and say, hey, I did this idea 20 years ago. It's still floating out there. Would you like to pick from my garden?
Yeah.
And it's, so have a quantum potato, because you didn't grow any and now you're interested in them, because I've cultivated that potato. It's good. I just am not.
Right.
So
in that sense, think about how much we've cultivated our freedom.
Yeah. And this idea too that it's not my idea. It's out there now for anybody to take and nurture it and grow it. And maybe it'll be me, maybe it'll be somebody else, but there's no ownership around this stuff anymore. It's so based on the we. And again, those of us that have done the work, that have built a vocabulary for it, to name it and to identify it and to analyze it, do the work and sit in our 2 hours of meditation a day, blah, blah, blah. That's all great.
Yeah. It was great for that time.
Well, right. And it cultivated a consciousness and a quantum effect. So now that the people who didn't spend their time naming it, building the vocabulary, doing it, that are still saying yes to it on even an unconscious level.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're starting to build that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're all building it together. So
Right.
we all did our work in the way we needed to do it.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
God knows I was not going to be the one in the schools with 30 kindergartners that are medicated. God bless the people that did that. They were doing their work in a different way, you know. And I was sitting in meditation. It was all important work. And then they're saying yes on an unconscious level, pre-conscious, to the quantum energy that they're feeling. I've seen it all over the place.
Yes. Here, I've got an update from Tracy. She had put in a few here. Let me see. Where are we? Exactly. The energies are definitely primed and ready to assist. I used to revisit the past frequently for analysis, and now it's like I am only capable of looking forward. We are one with many faces.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. And I'm not one to, I am not a we are one person. I have not been a we are one person. I've been a one-man army. Do it myself. I can handle this.
All
So
right.
this is really bizarre for me, and I'm really, really feeling it on such a deep level. It's like the Church of Get Lit, which I'm so not. So yeah, woohoo, love life, praise the Lord, praise the God. That's not who I am. I'm analytical. I'm spiritual, yes, but I am not one to get in community and bow down to anything. And so this is a huge shift for me too.
Mm-hmm.
But what you just said about not being able to, Tracy, what you said about not looking, I can't even look at the past anymore and analyze it and bring it up and heal it. I had a friend recently, just at the beginning of the summer, who, you know, we've all had our trauma and we've all had our baggage, and they live in this. They live in the death of their parents that happened in their mid-20s, early 30s. And she's going back yet again, you know, prone to depression and isolation, but pretty happy and high functioning, you know, prone to depression and isolation like any of us are on any, you know, given winter day where you're, you know, whatever. But, and finally she was like, I'm going through this book again on codependent something, and I'm going through this other thing, and I'm doing my work around the 12 steps of this. And I was on the phone with her and I said, okay, that's enough. You just have to stop. I said, you are dependent on your trauma. No, I said, you are dependent on the healing process of your trauma.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think after 35 years, 40 years, if that was really what was going to work, you wouldn't be looking at the book anymore. I'm like, you just have to stop. This is your best friend. The healing process is your best friend. You go back every 5 years and start a 5-year process from the beginning. I said, I would encourage you to look to the future of what you want and what you want it to look like. And fuck healing.
Right.
Sights on what it needs to be. You don't have to. And that's the whole thing. It's a shoulda straw.
Yeah.
I think I will not get to this next level in my life and what it looks like unless I should be sitting in meditation for 62 hours a day, to get 62 minutes a day to get there. You know, and she's like, I can't get to this unless I do all this healing and purify myself.
Yeah.
And go from it and refine it again and go deeper. And I'm like, stop with the onion already.
All right. So that's a modern day self-flagellation. That's a self-flagellation. It's an old mythological religious dogmatic.
That now, when I try to do that now, I go, what? My thoughts like go, and I can't, that kind of process, I can't even organize the thoughts around it anymore.
Do that again. How do your thoughts go?
They go.
A Peruvian whistle.
And I'm like, wow, this isn't me. Like I could go deep. I could get clear. I could.
No, I mean, really, that's the, you know, we got tripped up in the understanding of processing, self-therapy. And all we did is we took, seriously, the dynamics of the religion the religions that taught self-flagellation and self-infliction because you're a bad person, so you have to suffer.
You know, though, I have to say it's not just religion, because I have been a deeply spiritual person all my life. And it's been sort of my curse in my family, because everyone's like, what? God? I'm a socialist political Jew. I don't believe in God or Jesus, or I'm going to put my nose to the grindstone and do my work. But so it's not just religion, because even as a deeply spiritual person, grown closer to the divine energy and my own intuition and my own connection to that, I would still be the person that everyone would be like, let's go dance in the full moon and live life and be bliss and joyful. Let's have an evening of just letting it go. And I'd be like, no, I'm meditating. I'm uncovering my past. I'm finding answers. No, this is what I'm doing. And so, and now I'm just like, okay, let's.
Yeah. Hey, Tracy is applauding you for your breakthrough.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Very good.
No, because the top will pop on it.
You can mute your audio when you have to do that.
We're done. Thank you, Tracy, for that. And yeah, I have a breakthrough every show, so I hope that it's contagious.
Yeah, totally. No, that's great. That's great. And I too, it's painful if I try to go back. In fact, I was asking myself, because I still sit and, just get clean, get clear.
Yeah.
And, again, that Buddhist influence, they use the word recollection. It's like self-reflection. I think, it was like I had to give myself permission. It's like, is it all right for me to review my day and just see if there's any place I need to improve? Don't go back to the past. But I mean, I feel without, digging into your past, it's like when you sit and you go, gosh, I'd like to have more clarity on this or that of my being. And then something of the past might emerge. Yeah. And it's like, that's a prompt. That's like, oh, here, this might be of assistance. And you just chew on it for a little bit. But it's that dangerous word, dwelling. Don't dwell on anything. No, don't even dwell on your bliss.
Through you.
Yeah. So again, I know we're coming towards the end of the show, but listeners, you always have the option to call in like John D did today, or we have now a chat room at dearwoman.com. You just hit watch live and scroll down under the CCN window, and there's a chat room. So we hope that entices you more. You can join other members there and ask questions. And just like Tracy, she's been a significant third guest here all through the show. It's been really wonderful.
It's been great fun. Thank you.
Yeah. What does she say here? Perhaps we have actually learned to live in the now. Yay!
Feels like lots of talk around it, thinking we're actually living in the now.
Yeah.
And this is really, the now is hit. We're like, oh, this is what it is.
Yeah, this is what it is. That's why I like, improvisation. I mean, I like, the way you and I check in, what's on our heart and mind in the moment, and reference to, okay, that piece of data came in over there, and then we got this, and then our personal experiences, our dreams, and then in the moment, because I could be, like I've been reading Huxley, right? Well, it's in the moment that a thought from that book might inspire me. But to continue to deliver it, like rhetoric, that just bores me terribly. And it bores me when other people do it too. But I like when we have scientists and they present the factual information, but then we take off from that. Then we use our imaginations and our intuitive selves and come up with our own theories and ideas and understandings. Freedom, imagination, education, knowledge. I think those are so key right now. And my gosh, it just seems like there isn't any information out there these days that we can't get our hands on. In fact, I mean, look what's happening. It's coming in so fast. It's coming in faster than we can. By the time it comes in, 24 hours later, if not sooner, it's updated.
Yeah. Well, and that's where you have to be so discerning to bring it back to every single show we've done, looping around. Because there's so much information, and I think honing, cleaning ourselves up, clearing that stuff that's in the way, creating space, honing our intuition, because we have 5,000 pieces of information coming at us each day, and we have to go, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, and continue to sit and clean and clear and cultivate that level of discernment so that we know where to reach for things or how to, or when we reach for something, we know what to do with it and not get all mucked up.
Yeah. Well, and I always like to, share intention and affirmation that everyone in this moment is experiencing this consciousness that we have created together. We have created this timeline together. We are not alone. We're stronger in the we, and trusting ourselves, coming back to our hearts, because essentially that's what's happening is we're trusting our hearts, and our heart isn't analyzing anything. Our heart is feeling, and it's our heart that deepens our trust, because each of us have had enough of that experience. When you feel deep love, you trust. You do. You trust that you are loved. You trust that you have. And that's a celebration. I just hope we just keep acknowledging that with each other. It just seems to be getting better. And this timeline, man, thank you to my brothers and sisters again. And I do have something else in my mind, and it goes back a couple of shows. What I want to do is a couple of shows back, we had Justin and Julian. And then our dear brother Julian transitioned. And then we did a vigil show. And we spoke about inviting Justin back again and just see where he is in relation to his dear one having transitioned. But I just want to acknowledge that what I had brought up there was about the Buddhist influence again, Tibetan Book of the Dead. That Julian, you are loved, that all our beings that have transitioned or are transitioning right now, we hold you in our hearts, in our community. We are not separated. We just happen to be in these physical suits, but now that we're understanding better this subtle energy, none of us ever die. We're immortal beings, and we share a consciousness. And I want to acknowledge all our ancestors, our loved ones, our friends. You haven't left us. We haven't left you. So may you feel great, great love rippling out. And to all those who are transitioning now on our planet, that we hold you close, and that we're in this together. We are in this together. So I just wanted to bring that back, because every day I sit and talk to Julian and our ancestors. So I just wanted to bring that back to our circle as well.
Thanks for doing that, D-Dub.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I've been thinking about him a little bit lately too, bringing it back around, even though you had a much deeper relationship with him. So yeah, thanks for that reminder. We're never created nor destroyed. We are here permanently in many, many forms. And so are our ideas and our brilliance. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a source source uninterrupted.
Interrupted. We can move from heaven to earth and below and above.
Yeah.
And just, yes, absolutely.
I think that's, and this new timeline, that's one of the concepts we've all been chewing on for a long time, is that heaven is on earth, okay, and that we don't die. So I think this new timeline is also nourishing that knowing.
Yeah.
And that's what's also helping us to relax and trust. It's like when you start to open to the mother, you actually start to get a better sense of she really is flowing through this suit, and we're part of the flow, you know. And yes, there's an amazing organic design to this physical body, but again, we're not this body. We're in oneness with the mother, you know. So she's always there. Her arms are always open. She's, you know, whether you're in the skin suit or not, we're doing this.
So our show started with the theme around grasping at straws, and I think that we did do some identifying of what that may mean, that we've gone through this, we finally have come out the other side of this evolutionary shift.
Mm-hmm.
And we are feeling the spaciousness of that, although we don't have a new set of vocabulary, and we're still reconfiguring what it is that we're supposed to be doing and talking about. So we're grasping at the straws of, I should be doing this, as opposed to, no, it's happening in the moment I think about it. I don't need to should myself around anything. The other grasping of the straw we were going for was questioning and analyzing everything. And then another straw was that struggle of duality, I think, was another straw we didn't name, but
Yeah.
you know, always grasping at and happy, but I have to be doing this. Or there's the should have, and then there's the could haves,
Right.
the would haves, which are about the healing process of always having to go back through and peel that onion and work it, instead of just saying, okay, this moment came to me and I'm moving it through me and it's informing me, and now I'm going to move towards the future in the here and now. And so the should have, could have, would haves, the duality, the question of everything.
Okay.
And so those are the straws. And now we have to no longer grasp at straws. We have to grasp at the quantum field of everything that is and always has been and always will be. And it's there for the taking, and it's there for the richness of it. So I appreciate Tracy coming in and joining us.
One more message from Tracy too.
What's up?
And then come back to your appreciation, because we do have to wrap it up. Love tingles everywhere. Love tinkles everywhere. So beautiful. Thank you. So beautiful. Thank you. Nurturing the perfect word for the feeling. Gonna keep the straws for my garden now. Laugh out loud.
Absolutely. Build
Okay.
the straws and keep the quantum bliss in the center. Keep it growing.
Yeah. So grateful to you, Tracy. Thank you so much for being with us.
So much fun. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, we got our timing warning from Miss Biggs.
So I just want to say again, to encourage everybody to donate to the cause. Ethi, as in ethical, ethimarket.com, and you can go there and they'll give you instructions on how to donate through PayPal or any other means. It keeps us autonomous and free with our speech and our thoughts, and the formats that we have on here. We are like public television, no advertisers. So join us in the force to keep us going. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. We love all of you very much. We're so grateful to be on this journey with you. Thank you for allowing me to have my breakthroughs every week. I love you, Blue.
Yeah, love you too, Beck. Love to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.